Hey everybody, it's Dave here from Fantasy Fitnessing. I'm here to bring you a preview show today of the Torian Pro Competition semi-final for the Oceania continent. It is one of the two semi-finals we have at the Fantasy Fitnessing Week 1 semi-final box pick'em game. So we'll be running through men's field, women's field, and I'll be making some picks just based off of my instincts and of how I'm filling out my team. So start off, we got men's box 1. We got Jay Crouch, Con Porter, Baden Brown, and James Newberry. So this is the elite of the Oceania field, and I expect 3 of these 4 guys to advance to the CrossFit Games. First up, we got Jay Crouch. He was the top of the group in the Open at 17th. He won quarterfinals for Oceania this year, and he's also beat this group of people at the Australian CrossFit Championship last year. So just based off recent performance, he's competed well against all these guys. He's also the kid of the group in comparison. He's 22, or 23 I should say. Con Porter, next up. He was 33rd in the Open this year and second in quarterfinals out of this group. Just following the guy, seems to be having just a blast this year in his training, so it seems to be coming through in his performance as well. So also a top pick within this group. Got Baden Brown, 3rd in quarterfinals this year, but he was the top Aussie at the games last year in 11th, so beating both Porter and Crouch. So when the stakes are on the line with the hardest competition, he did come out on top of this group. And then 4th, James Newberry. He's kind of the wild card of the group as it goes. He's had a rough couple of years. He, hurt his back in a mountain biking accident during the 2020 Open, and then 2021 Open this year had his knee scoped less than a week before. So really haven't been able to see how he's been at the top of his game since that 2019 games where he finished 5th. He did manage a 2nd at the Australia CrossFit Championship last year, just as he was way back, but just because we haven't been able to see him perform at the top of his game this year, he is kind of the wild card of the group. He could, finish at the top of the podium. He certainly has the pedigree to do that, but we saw him, pace himself during the Open, which is exactly what he should have done. Ended up 15th in quarterfinals, which would have been about 5 or 6 weeks after his knee scope, but giving him another 5 to 6 weeks in recovery, it's not out of the question to see him finish to the top of the podium of this group. For myself, my pick is Jay Crouch, just to see him constantly, at the top of this group. I think he has some great mentorship at CrossFit Frankston there under Rob Forte. So as I filled out my team, Jay Crouch was my pick. Moving on, men's box 2, we got Brandon Swan, Luke Fiso, Zeke Grove, and Jake Standen. So kind of an interesting cross-section of athletes here. Brandon Swan was a games athlete from 2012 to 2014, but just, as time's elapsed, his top finish in the last 3 years was 5th at the Australian CrossFit Championship last year. But then, bit of a resurgent, finished 6th in quarterfinals this year. So, could see him making another run. Same as Luke Fiso, games in 2019. He was a 5th in quarterfinals this year. And then the last sanctional he competed in was the 2019 Down Under CrossFit Championship, where he finished 6th. So, strong showing for him. Next up, Zeke Grove. He was also a games athlete in 2019. Didn't finish as strong in the quarterfinals this year in 11th, but did have a 4th place finish at Southfit last year, which I think was a strong field as well. So might, be more inclined to an in-person competition, which is awesome that we get to see at Torian. So, another person to watch. And then last, the kid of the group, Jake Standen. So he was 7th in quarterfinals this year, 265th in the Open. So seeing him come into his own, he's only 23, so doesn't necessarily have the experience in a live competition that all the other athletes have, but does have youth on the side. I think those other 3 guys are in their age 29 to age 31 season. So he does have a little bit more youth. For me, my pick was Fiso. He's just kind of been the steadiest of the group, being fifth in quarterfinals as well. Finished highest in the Open this year, I think in top 50. So just to see that steadiness, for me to pick one within this group, it was him. Next up, men's box group 3. We got Royce Dunn, Ben Fowler, Evan Morris, and Reese Matchell. So kind of an interesting cross section of athletes. The big name that's going to stick out to you, Royce Dunn, 2018 games, won the CrossFit total. He's also got the hometown advantage. He's head coach of CrossFit Torian. What's interesting about him, he did have 2 event wins in the CrossFit quarterfinals, so only male athlete to do that within this field, but finished 11th. So depending on the events, he's either going to hit you a home run or strike out, or because we are talking about the Oceania field, put in a cricket, it's going to bat a century or hit the wicket. So it's going to be kind of a toss-up. One of the events that Torian announced was a clean and jerk ladder. He's the strongest guy in this field, so he's probably going to get a first place win for that, just with how fast he can move a barbell. And I think he also has some advantages on the sled pull, just due to his strength. It's really going to determine where he finishes in some of those other events that would have those monostructural elements or the gymnastics movements. That is really going to determine where he ends up within this field. Ben Fowler, who's 12th quarterfinals this year, 166th in the Open. He's only 20 years old, so he hasn't had any experience in a sanctional or a regional event. So this will be his first elite in-person competition. So might be some nerves on there, but because he's only 20, he might just kind of push through those and shine. Evan Morris, he was 13th in quarterfinals this year, but had a 6th place finish at the Australian CrossFit Championship last year. So, has some strength within a live person competition. He was also 20th in Dubai, which had a super deep field with, Fikowski, Vellner, Adler. I think a couple of the Panchiks were there, Roman Krenikov. So that was a deep field. So the 20th is a bit misleading just because of how strong that depth was. And then 4th, we got Reese Matchell. He was 14th in quarterfinals. He competed in 2017 regionals as an 18-year-old. So he is only 23, but he does have a lot of years of competing experience. So hopefully you can translate that into a big improvement there. My pick out of this group was Royce Dunn. I think he's going to get you points or get some points in the clean ladder and the push or the sled pull. So I think just based off of those victories or potential event victories, I think he's just going to get pushed to the top of the group here. Moving on to the women's side of the competition. In terms of the semifinals, box pick'em, we put Tia Claire Toomey, and Kara Saunders in a head-to-head competition as far as our pick'em goes. To me, these are the top 2 female athletes across the board in CrossFit right now. Toomey's, just dominated the games 4 years in a row. Comes out this year, wins the CrossFit Open, wins quarterfinals within Oceania. Certainly near the top. You got Kara Saunders, coming back last year after becoming a mom, wins the Australia CrossFit Championship, had a super strong showing at the games, and then just proving this year through the competitions that she is back at that elite level. So in terms of our box picks, we put them together head to head, even though they are in different competitions, but we'll just normalize the points between the two. My pick and how I made my pick was really just each athlete versus the depth of the field. I think Kara is a lot more head and shoulders over the other women in the Torian Pro, so she was my pick, but I would expect both Tia and Kara to run away with each individual events. In terms of the pure Torian athletes, Women's box 1, we got Laura Clifton, Madeline Sturt, Justine Beath, and Ellie Turner. So good strong field here to round out the games position. So Laura Clifton, she was third in quarterfinals between Tia and Kara. She was 26th at the games last year and third at the Australia CrossFit Championship. So not necessarily a name that we know outside of the Oceania region, but has some strong showing, and it does prove that she was, capable at the games last year. Madeline Sturt, she was 6th in quarterfinals, 4th at the Australia CrossFit Championship last year behind Clifton, 2nd at Southfit. While she is only 24, she does have 4 trips to the games, so she has that experience competing at that elite level, so might be an interesting pick to push through. Justine Beath, she was 8th in quarterfinals, but she does have 2 past trips to the CrossFit Games in 2016 and 2018. Has, experience on her side, I think being the oldest athlete out of this group, and is having a bit of a resurgence this year after taking, I think, some years off to start a family. So she does have that experience on her side, and that might be able to push her through. Again, just enjoying training, enjoying being back on the competition floor. And then last out of this group, or I should say fourth, Ellie Turner. She was 4th at quarterfinals, and then last year she was 6th at the Australian CrossFit Championship, and is only 23 years old. Last year's ACC was really her first elite competition, so she hasn't been in any sanctionals before that, never competed at regionals, so a bit of an unknown in comparison to the other athletes who do have a heap of experience behind them. So it will be interesting to see how she holds her own on the competition floor. For me, this pick was between Clifton and Sturt. I like Sturt on this one, just to see how she performed in multiple events last year, and has a bit more games experience behind her. But it was kind of a toss-up between Laura Clifton and her. So could see either of them second place on the podium, but in terms of getting the games tickets, I think both of these women will be heading to Madison along with Kara Sanders out of this event. Moving on to women's box 2, we got Athea Boone, Christy Bishop, Bailey Rogers, and Gemma Hawk. So Boone was a games athlete between 2015 and 2017, was 4th at the 2019 Down Under CrossFit Championship, 3rd at the Asia CrossFit Championship that year, and then 12th in quarterfinals this year. So again, does have a long competition history to draw on and some success there. Christy Bishop, she was 5th in the quarterfinals this year, 51 in the Open this year. And in terms of just the 2021 season, she has been the strongest and has been the most consistent out of this group. Bailey Rogers was 9th in quarterfinals this year. She doesn't actually have any other competition experience outside of the Open or this year's quarterfinals, so she is, again, a relative unknown at that elite competition level, so it would be interesting to see how she fits in with the field itself. And then Gemma Hawk, she was 10th at quarterfinals and 13 at the 2019 Down Under CrossFit Championship. So at 22, she is the kid of this group, so doesn't necessarily have all the experience that Bishop or Boone do, but we'll see how it plays out. My pick out of this group was Christy Bishop. I think just she has been the most consistent and strongest of the athletes this year, so I'd expect to see that kind of push forward through this event. Although there could be some surprises with Rogers and Hawk out of this group as well, so it will be interesting to see play out at the event. And then women's box 3, another past games athlete in Jessica Coughlin. She was at the games in 2017, but 15th in quarterfinals this year. Danielle Ford, 14th at quarterfinals this year. She also is coming off her best open finish, so just in terms of a competition standpoint, she's having her strongest year. Simone Arthur, 16th at quarterfinals, 3rd at the 2019 Australia CrossFit Championship, and 8th at the 2019 Down Under CrossFit Championship. So relative to most of the Oceania field, typically you see them at both those events just because they're local and the easiest to get to. Out of this group of athletes, has performed the best. Annika Roberts, 18th at quarterfinals. She's relatively new to competitive CrossFit. She first picked up the sport, or did her first open in 2018. So to go from brand new then to competing at a semi-final is a huge testament and a great accomplishment for her. It is her first sanctional regional semi-final event, just based off that limited history. So a great accomplishment, but I think it will be a challenge in being under those lights and just seeing the competition and the events just at that extra level that we don't see in the open or the quarterfinals so far. And then finally, Olivia Kelly, 19th in quarterfinals last year, but she was 4th at Pandaland. So she might be one of those athletes that performs really well in person, but doesn't necessarily excel in an online competition format. I think her best open finishes is high 900s overall, which is an amazing accomplishment in the world. I think she just might be the type of person that excels on the competition floor and really thrives in the energy of a live competition. So a bit of a wild card coming in. Also one of the stronger athletes in the field, so she could perform well on that clean ladder. For me, my pick's Arthur, Simone Arthur, just based off of her in-person finishes in 2019 with her 3rd at Australia CrossFit Championships in 2019, or the 8th at the 2019 Down Under CrossFit Championship. So I think she can, rely on that past history to come out above the other women in this group. So with that, encourage you to sign up for free at fantasyfitnessing.com for our semifinals week 1 box pick'em challenge. Picking athletes from these groups, picking an athlete from the Mid-Atlantic CrossFit Championship, see how you rank on the global leaderboard, get your friends from your box or your affiliate to sign up as well, and you can compete against them in an affiliate leaderboard. And we're giving away some road gift cards for the top finishers in the event. So again, sign up for free, fantasyfitnessing.com. We're previewing a lot of these events and providing some more details on the athletes at our Fantasy Fitnessing Instagram account at Fantasy Fitnessing. So sign up there, and then subscribe to our podcast, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll be sharing lots of details there over the next couple months as we head to Madison for the game. So with that, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, have a great day.